It is 3:30 p.m. on March 25th, 2021. So I'm going to call to order the Diversion Board Authority. Could I get a roll call, please, Don?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
I'm here.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Here.
Mr. Ebinger. Mr. Strand.
Present.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mrs. Shirley.
I'm here.
Mr. Steen.
Here.
Mr. Olson. A quorum is present.
Thank you, Don. And this is not on the agenda, but it's something that I think we kind of just need a quick little tutorial. And Peggy is going to share a quick informational session on joining the meeting so that hopefully in the future we don't have issues joining and being able to stay in the meeting and listen in. So Peggy, I will turn it over to you to give this quick tutorial.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson. Yes, we wanted to do this quick to try and alleviate any future issues with joining the Teams meetings electronically, as we still have the virtual meetings. In the past, when Dawn has set up the meetings, she has scheduled them as a Teams meeting. Moving forward, they will still be a Teams meeting, but you will not be able to go into Microsoft Teams to join that meeting. The issue has been that with Microsoft Teams, when an update is had to the meeting to send out the agendas, etc., the meeting information sometimes gets messed up in Teams. So the appropriate way to join the meetings moving forward is if your calendar or your email calendar is Outlook, you will just simply have the little line here that says click here to join the meeting. And that will be the appropriate way to join the meeting. If you go through the Microsoft Teams app, there will not be a meeting there to join, and that should alleviate any future issues. The intent is that Dawn will send out the click here to join the meeting link with the call-in information when she sends out the board agendas. She will still be sending out the calendar invites to you guys to have these meetings as placeholders. So again, if you just click on this button instead of going through Microsoft Teams, we shouldn't have anybody getting lost in rooms that Microsoft Teams has updated.
Thank you, Peggy. Any questions? Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Chad.
Yes.
To our administrative team, why is it so complex? It seems like this is a very simple technology that should be able to be populated without a lot of issues. We do that within the county. I'm sure City of Fargo does the same thing. And I realize it's not earth-shattering stuff where we have to open up and then pan and then click, but the whole baseline of Microsoft Teams is to make everything easy. So what's the struggle?
Mayor Carlson, do you want me to respond to what I think has been happening?
Yes, please do.
So what we think has been happening, Commissioner Peterson, is that when the meeting is actually set up in Teams, anytime an update is set up, like when Dawn sends out or updates the invite with the packet information, the information in your calendar itself stays the same, but if you join through Microsoft Teams, that room and dial-in information sometimes changes, and that is something that's out of our control. That's a bit of an issue with Teams, because she's wanting to have these scheduled on your calendar in advance as placeholders. So that is why she's going to wait to send out the Teams invite information when we send the agenda and packet information, but you will still have the Outlook placeholder on your calendar ahead of time. It has also been, in our understanding, a bit of an issue when Microsoft Teams does updates.
Does that help
Thank you.
answer your question, Commissioner?
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair.
Okay.
And again, sorry to be kind of a naggy pain guy, but I appreciate your time.
Okay. Paul, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit to Commissioner Peterson. team seems to work well within one organization, but when it starts going across organizations, such as between the city of Fargo, the county system, and various the city of Moorhead systems, some strange things start happening, and updates are not as consistent when they go across these various organizational lines.
Okay.
If
Thank
I
you.
could
Go ahead.
jump in. This is David Ebbinger. Speaking of strange things with teams, I cannot get mine to open up. So I'll be doing this on phone. I'll be on mute. I don't know if you've taken the role yet or not, but I've just come into the meeting.
I will add you to the roll. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, you had some issues too. I don't understand what asking for that number. Bernie had something similar today as well. So we're working on that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
And
Ebbinger.
Dawn, this is Roger, and I'm on the phone also.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Peggy and Don, for trying to alleviate future issues. Hopefully when we can start meeting in person, a lot of these will be alleviated. So we'll just keep trying to resolve the issues as we move forward. So Mayor Mahoney.
Could we start meeting in person next month? I'm thinking most of us are getting our vaccination, could wear a mask if need be, but we could open the commission for that if you'd like.
So Mayor Mahoney, I think that there is a scheduling conflict in your room, in your meeting room right now. I believe your liquor board is currently using the space on this same meeting day and time. Is that correct, Mr. Paulson?
Liquor board meets on a Wednesday at 1:30.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm not sure. We were notified by the city of Fargo that the room would be unavailable until I believe it was the June meeting where we could start having it in person. But we can check with your staff and see if it would be available before then.
I think, Joel, that was because of COVID issues, so I think we would be released by the time we get into May meeting, or April meeting. We can take that offline. Thanks.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. Okay. All right, I'm going to move forward with the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 25th?
Peterson motion.
Steen second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or comments? Okay, if not, this is an action item, so Don, could I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Papcorn.
Yes.
Mr. Ebbinger.
Yes.
Mr. Strand.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the order of the agenda. Could I get a motion on that? And actually, prior to that, Mr. Shockley, for the approval of the order of the agenda and the consent agenda, since it is a North Dakota committee, is this something that we would still need to do a roll call for, or could we just do, if there's any not in favor, that they would make a statement?
Madam Chair, great question. I believe that it would be up to you as chair how you want to conduct the voice vote. You could either have a roll call, or you could go ahead and have a motion and a second and call for a voice vote, or call for those who are opposed to it.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Mayor Mahoney.
North Dakota, you usually could do your approval of minutes, approval agenda by just a voice call, but the consent agenda sometimes has money attached to it, so we normally would do a roll call.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It's a little different in Minnesota. So do I have a motion for the approval of the order of the agenda?
Dardis moves.
Steen moves. Steen seconds.
Okay. For this, I'll just do a voice count. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the order of the agenda passes. And moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Hendrickson, so moved.
And second.
Steen, second.
Okay. Any discussion or comments?
Madam Chair, there is a number of payments due in the consent agenda. And given that everything is on the consent agenda, you may want to have a roll call vote for that item, for the consent agenda.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Don, could I get a, well, first, is there any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, Don, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Carlson,
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mayor Dardis,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson,
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mr. Ebbinger,
Aye.
Mr. Strand,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling,
Yes.
Mr. Steen,
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you. Consent agenda passes. Moving on to the regular agenda, number 4, Executive Director Report. I will turn it over to you, Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Diversion Authority Board. We've had another busy month in March. Chris Buckygard and I and the township teams and the utility teams have been working diligently to execute as many MOUs as possible. You just saw a few of those contained within the consent agenda. We did receive the first township MOU agreement for Weiser Township. That to us was a kind of a monumental thing. We've been working for over half a year with the different townships to negotiate the MOUs. So that Weiser Township MOU should come through next month, but we did get agreement from their township board. So Chris continues to go out to the townships on a monthly basis and continues to work through a number of issues related to the specific townships. Each one is obviously unique as far as the impacts of the project are concerned. Overall, we're getting good reception from the townships, and we continue to put in quite a bit of effort on that front. Myself, I've been very much involved in a lot of communications with the public and with the North Dakota State Legislature. I did testify at the Senate Tax and Finance Committee on March 17th for House Bill 1431. That is the bonding bill that contains $435 million for the Diversion Authority. I also testified to the Senate Appropriations Committee on March 22nd. That was in regards to the State Water Commission bill that had the not to exceed $850 million total intent for state contributions to the Diversion Authority project, as well as some changes with pulling the Diversion Authority out of the Resources Trust Fund, which of course frees up those dollars for projects across the entire state of North Dakota. We really view it as a win-win situation for North Dakota and the Diversion Authority. And then we've also been working very diligently on our federal legislative strategy and outreach with the administration change and some new programs being developed. We continue to look for additional ways to find federal dollars and bring those into the program. So we continue to monitor many different fronts, and we can talk about that maybe a little bit later in the meeting. Some exciting things on the public-private partnership front. We did issue an RFP addendum that was sent out to the proposers on March 9th. And then we did receive the technical proposals from the bidders yesterday, which was a monumental day for us. Obviously, we've been working for years to go through the process and work with the development teams. And we did receive those, successfully did receive those technical proposals. So now we've compiled a technical review team. So engineers from the different member entities will be devoting a lot of time over the next few weeks, really digging into those technical proposals and scoring them. So we look forward to kicking off that process. Just a note on that front is, we're expecting the financial proposals next month as well, which will complete the requirements, and we will have all the information necessary to ultimately, hopefully in May, pick a selected proposer. I've been working with Chairwoman Carlson as well, bringing her up to speed on a number of different fronts, and so that work will continue. A couple of other notes that I don't have on here, but I just wanted to make the board aware. We talked last month about the issuance of the Minnesota DNR permit. That was an agency decision. We actually received the permit about a week ago from the Minnesota DNR. So that is all wrapped up, and we have made our stipulation in federal court for the release of the federal litigation. So with that, Madam Chair, I will certainly am open for any questions or comments that any of the board members may have. Oh, you're on mute, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's hard to sometimes, I think, keep up with all the successes that we're having, and to even put it all on one PowerPoint slide is pretty incredible. Any comments or questions? All right. Well, seeing none, we will move on to number 5, General Counsel update, and I will turn it over to you, Mr. Shockley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Within the council packet, or the board packet, and my apologies for updating this late this week, pursuant to the direction that the board had given us regarding the litigation involving ICS versus the Metro Flood Diversion Authority, we did extend the Rule 64 offer for 1.4 million approximately to ICS, which after significant negotiation was accepted. You will recall that they were originally asking for about pretty close to 4 million. And so this is pursuant to the board's direction. It was accepted. Given that it was a Rule 64 motion, it would be really difficult to unwind it. But we did need to get board confirmation that you are accepting of this, and then to give the chair and the executive director the authority to go ahead and sign the settlement agreement in the ICS case. We have not completed the ICS case settlement documents because they just agreed to this within the last couple of days. So it's still very fresh, but we wanted to get it on the board agenda, get it accepted, and get it resolved. I can certainly answer any questions you have, but we view this as a positive result on this construction case claim.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Questions or comments? So this, I believe, is an action item, and I will need a motion to approve this settlement. Do I have a motion?
This is Dave Pepcorn. I'll make that motion.
Steen, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Dawn, could I get a roll call vote on this, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Ebbinger.
Aye.
Mr. Strand.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shirley.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you very much. The settlement has been approved, and I imagine, Mr. Shockley, you'll get that to Mr. Paulson so that he and I can sign that.
Absolutely, Madam Chair, and we're still in the process of drafting it, so there'll be some cleanups and some changes and just resolution, but we wanted to get the board approval today. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. My two dogs are also approving that resolution. Moving on to number 6, core project update. I will turn it over to you, Terry.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. I'm pleased to provide the Corps' monthly update for March. Diversion inlet structure, both work resumed at both the diversion inlet and the wild rice. The DIS is about 46% complete. Upcoming construction for the DIS, they're going to complete the dam walls this year. The concrete piers, which are between the three gates. So that'll be a big pour. They'll do the stilling basin pour in the walls, and then of course continuing the gate fabrication and the machinery fabrication. The wild rice structure is about 21% complete. They too, driving sheet pile in the stilling basin area this year. The approach walls and the apron should be poured. The stilling basin and the walls should be poured, and the preloads should be installed. Just like we're preloading at the wild rice, just like we did at the diversion inlet structure. On to number 3. 3 and 4 are big. These are the 2 contracts that are pending award. I-29, we got a nice bid opening on the 9th of March, and we anticipate awarding that contract no later than mid-April. We're shooting for no later than 9 April. The apparent low bid on that was about $66.9 million. It'll be the largest contract the Corps has awarded to date. Number 4, Reach SC1, we're also award is pending on that contract. The apparent low bid was $2.2 million. So we've moved those into the construction category out of the design category. Pretty excited about that. Number 5, the Red River structure design, that still remains on schedule. The 95% review has moved out a little bit, but we've got plans and specs still being done the end of August. 6, 7, and 8, these are all Southern Embankment Reaches 1B, 2A, 2B. We've got detailed design going on those 3 pieces, and then also doing a little bit of very preliminary work on Reaches SC4 and 5, which would be the embankment reaches in Minnesota. Number 8, Drain 27, nothing really new to report on that, except we're trying to determine how long the delay will be to be able to award a contract for that job. And number 9, nothing new either. Drayton Dam, detailed design continues. Then on the next page, we've put together kind of a preliminary rendering of what the Red River structure will look like. This is looking from south to north through the structure, how the water will flow through that structure. You can see where the 3 gate bays are, the bridge on top where all the mechanical machinery will be mounted, and then the bridge that goes over the structure and the dam itself. And then they'd also list some the primary features of this structure, which is very similar, of course, to the wild rice. That's all I had for the update. If there are any questions.
Any questions or comments? All right.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Roger.
Go ahead, Roger.
Terry, on that large contract for $66 million, how close was that to your engineer's estimate?
The engineer's estimate was $64 million. So really pleased with how all the bids came in and where our government sat with that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Moving on to public outreach update, Jennifer and Roger.
Yeah, this is Roger. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, and she's going to show us some things. Thank you.
I think Terry's going to talk through the videos. So we have 2 of the videos that were filmed for the construction that is happening at the wild rice and the inlet control structure. So Terry, I think Peggy, are you going to play it? And then Terry, you're going to talk through it? There we go.
Sure. So this is for the diversion inlet structure. This was taken last week. Pretty soon the preload piles will be removed and there will be 3 more dam wall panels poured on each side. The walls have to be poured within a certain amount of time that the preloads are taken off so that we don't have any rebound of the soils. This is flying into the approach area of the diversion inlet structure. The approach slab is poured. The slabs for the gated area are poured as well already. This is looking south east. This is looking northwest. You can see that Ames is driving pile in the Stilling Basin area, H pile, preparing to make those big pours of the basin itself and the walls. The Stilling Basin will include baffle blocks to dissipate the energy from the flows of the water coming through the structure, down the steps, and through the Stilling Basin. So additional work that'll be done. You can kind of see the rebar sticking out of the control structure slab in 2 places. The large vertical piers will be poured there. Yeah, you can see it really well right now. And then the piers on either sides of the gates as well. So you'll be able to get an idea of how big the gates will be this year as well. The gates are being fabricated and they should be installed in the summer of 2022 at the diversion inlet. At the Wild Rice River structure, you'll see that they're really just a little bit behind what's going on at the diversion inlet structure. So here we're flying north in the direction of the flow that will go through this structure, in the direction of the engineered channel that will be dug once the whole structure is complete and we've crossed the river with the dam embankment. You can see the approach walls as we come in on the left. Those are being formed up on top of the footing, and you can see the approach wall footings on the right. If you remember, the 2 big pours that occurred late last year were in the control structure area, the slabs. I would expect that they start pouring those walls pretty soon if they haven't already. You can, in the background, you can see the red crane. They're placing the H pile in the Stilling Basin area. So this summer, we'll see the Stilling Basin done, the Stilling Basin walls, the approach apron, and the preloads done, the right and left preloads done, where the dam walls will intersect the earthen embankments. And we expect that the gates will be installed here next summer as well, summer of 2022.
Thank you for those. It's incredible to see the work that is being done, particularly on the diversion inlet. To realize that it's 46% complete is just fantastic. Jennifer?
I think that's it for the update on that. The next section is the P3 procurement and evaluation selection and award process. So Joel, I think, was going to give a little bit of information on what we're creating here. It's the education series that we'll be sharing with you soon. So Joel, did you want to speak to it, or would you like me to share some information?
No, thank you, Jennifer. So, we talked about this for a few different meetings, but we are getting closer to having the P3 education series complete. So here you can see a list of different topic items that we will be addressing. We will be creating a presentation with a PowerPoint and somebody from the team speaking about the instruction, and we will have that available for the board members to access. We also will have the PowerPoint presentation that would be available to the board members to download as well, to keep the content with them if they so choose. But obviously, a lot of great content in here as we move through the developer selection process. And so it's very important information for each of the board members as we lead up to the final selection of the selected proposers. So any questions related to the educational content, we should have those available for the board members fairly soon. Okay. So here's just a few key dates. Obviously, we received the technical proposals yesterday, and the tech teams will begin their review process over the course of the next month. The financial proposals will be coming in on April 23rd, and then the finance team will review those between April 26th and May 7th. And so we are planning the public hearing for the award and the board meeting on May 27th, which is our regular scheduled board meeting. If for whatever reason we need to have a special meeting prior because our schedule moves a little bit quicker than we're expecting, we can certainly do that as well. But any questions related to the proposed schedule? All right. Okay, I think that's all we had. I can take this to Jennifer. This is just, if the board can recall, we did have this in our meeting last month as far as the updated MFDA org chart. We had some comments concerning some of the board members' emails, and so we did update that. This is more for the board's information. Contains all the contact info for the board members, the executive leadership team, and the consultants that are leading up the specific sectors of the Diversion Authority project. So and that's all we have, Madam Chair, on that.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions? Not seeing any. No? All right. Moving along then, number 8, land management update. I will turn it over to Commissioner Sherling.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Land management met yesterday, and we had a very productive meeting, very busy, a lot of activity going on right now. You have the updated information in your packet, but I would just ask Mr. Dodds if he wants to do just a brief overview.
Hi, Mary and commissioners, board members. Good afternoon. As Peggy shows on the screen here, this is our status report. Peggy, if you want to go to the next slide, I'll maybe just touch on a few items. As Mary mentioned, we're making a lot of progress, lots of activity. Just a few things to point out here. We have as of a week or two ago when this report was prepared, we have 550 parcels that have been acquired. We do have a number of parcels that are still in an eminent domain situation, and our legal teams are working on discovery requests and the usual processes along with that. We are continuing to negotiate on a number of parcels, primarily for the Red River control structure and the Drain 27 wetland project, as well as just a few properties in the upstream mitigation area. And then I think I mentioned this last month, but just as a note, all of the orange colored boxes in the upstream area are under the appraisal step that Crown Appraisals is working on the flowage easement for that process right now. The next page then touches on easements that we are trying to acquire for the biotic and geomorphic monitoring program. We have made pretty good progress. Even in the last couple of weeks, I think we've had a dozen or so of those easements signed, and so progress is being made there. The remaining pages of the report drill into just more detail on each individual component, showing you progress in a graphic fashion. I guess I'll spare you the details. You have it in your packet, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions or comments? All right. Want to continue?
I think that's all I had, unless there's anything else that Mary wanted to add.
No, thank you, Eric. And I guess I would just ask Roger and Kevin if you had updates from your acquisition efforts.
And Mary, this is Roger. Actually, this morning we had our joint board meeting, and we did approve one purchase and purchase agreement, and we have several of the flowage easements. As we've been making a lot of contact, or the land agents have been making a lot of contact with landowners in the staging area, and that'll continue. So I think things are going fairly well.
Thank you. And Kevin, did you have anything on the Minnesota side? I know we're always kind of a month behind in.
Right. So I guess what I can report is we did at last month's meeting, we did approve, I believe it was between 4 and 6 different appraisals on properties that we needed to acquire. We did have our JPA meeting today. We did discuss the timing issues regarding the 4 properties that are needed by the Corps for the Red River control structure. So we continue to focus on those properties as well. We did approve a farmland lease agreement today and a master service agreement with Tingem Appraisals, and then another amendment with Crown Appraisals. So that was the activity today.
Great, thank you. And the only other, we did have some conversations that we've started working on mitigation with some of the cemeteries, and phase 2 for Crown Appraisals is underway, and working with Roger's team on doing some outreach in that regard. And that concludes my report. We'll take any questions anyone might have.
Any questions for Commissioner Sherling and the Land Management Committee? You guys are a quiet group today. All right. Well,
Mayor
moving
Carlson,
on.
Mayor Carlson?
Yes.
I did want to point out we are going to be going to live meetings as well for our MCC JPA starting in April. I just for everybody's information, that will be held in our newly expanded community room at the courthouse in Moorhead.
And I believe, Commissioner Campbell, for those who are not quite comfortable or unable to attend in person, there is virtual options.
Absolutely, we have really good technology there.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to number 9, finance update. I will turn it over to Mayor Dardis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Finance Committee met yesterday. We did do a couple of action items. One was the policy on the disposition and management of the lands, which will be presented next. Legal counsel, Mr. Shockley, advised due to the dollar amounts of excess lands that we have, that it should also be approved by the Finance Committee, of which it was unanimously approved. There were no Diversion Authority approved contract actions that we had to act on, but there were numerous Executive Director approved contract actions and numerous Cass County Joint Water Resource District actions. And I defer to Executive Director Paulson with regard to those, if there's any questions on those. There was a substantial amount of both of them. Not a lot of dollar amount, but a lot of different actions. That concludes my report, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor Dardis. Mr. Paulson, did you have any comments, or would you like to make a statement?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we did have a number of Executive Director approved contracting actions. As Mayor Dardis had mentioned, majority of them are very low cost items or zero cost items. So just a lot of different contracting actions related to budget adjustments, period of performance extensions, and the like. And then the Cass County Joint has approved a number of appraisal task order extensions. All of the Executive Director approved contracting actions and Cass County Joint Water Resource District approved contracting actions are contained within the 2021 cash budget. So there was really no questions related to these items at the Finance Committee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Paulson. Any comments or questions for either Mr. Paulson or Mayor Dardis? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Moving on to other business, policy on the disposition and management of the comprehensive project for lands, and I will turn that over to Martin.
Actually, Madam Chair, I don't know whether Commissioner Sherling would like to introduce this topic and report out what happened at the meeting. I'm happy to have you do that, Mary, or I can at your option.
Thank you, Martin. Yes, we've worked diligently on this policy for the last several months, and I would just like to thank you, Martin, Eric, John Shockley, for all of your efforts on this, and really all the committee and the staff members that contributed to where we're at today with a policy that we believe will work on both sides of the river for both counties and cities. And so we've made adjustments as we've moved forward with this policy, and we unanimously recommended that this policy move forward for your consideration today. So if you have any questions, we're here. And as I said, the authors really were primarily Martin and John and Eric. And so we'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherling. Martin, Mr. Shockley, Eric, did you want to have anything that you wanted to add or anything like that?
Madam Chair, this is Martin. No, nothing to add. I would just ask that any motion made by the board include the ability to do some grammatical cleanup or anything that needs to be polished as this goes to final.
Thank you. That is a good insight.
And with that suggested, I would like to make that motion with Martin's suggestion that any minor changes could be added later.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherling. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Campbell, second.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Don, could I get a roll call vote on this, please?
Mayor Carlson,
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mayor Dardis,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson,
Yes.
Mr. Pathorn,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Strand,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling,
Yes.
Mr. Steen,
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes, and I'd just like to make a comment. I really appreciate the hard work that was put into this. Just going to echo Mayor Sherling. You know, this is a very important document in my mind and to a lot of us. And just, you know, sure, it took a while. I think maybe the rest of you that weren't involved are wondering what the heck we're doing, you know, but it was very important. And I think it is a well-written document that does give us some flexibility. And I think we should be very proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Olson and Commissioner Sherling. It did pass unanimously, and yes, I commend all of you who worked extremely hard on this. It was a very much needed policy, and the fact that you took your time with it and didn't just push it through super quickly and took a lot of different things in consideration, you all need to be commended. So thank you for bringing such a comprehensive policy to the board. Moving on to 10B, the Luceo presentation. I believe I said that correctly. I will turn this over to Executive Director Paulson to introduce the presenter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the board can recall, it's been almost a year since we last took up this topic. We did move forward with a Luceo Consulting as part of the PMC to review and start to compile resiliency and sustainability programmatic issues related to the P3. And so they have been working. The reason we're coming back now is because the P3, the RFP is complete. We did incorporate some findings from Luceo into the RFP. And so I wanted to bring them back to have a report back to the board on the work that they've been doing. I would also like to just give a premise that the federal landscape has changed significantly as far as funding for infrastructure programs. And as the board is probably aware, the administration is going to be releasing information related to a potentially very large infrastructure package that may be moving forward. And there's also a number of additional federal programs that have changed over the course of the last year, notably the FEMA BRIC program, as well as some discussions concerning earmarks. All of these federal programs are really focused on resiliency, sustainability, climate change, green technology, and the like, and certainly fits with the alignment of the resiliency program for the FM diversion. So keep that in mind as Ms. McKenzie does her presentation here. I also have brought Mr. Chiller with Jacobs to the meeting here today. He is our federal liaison in Washington, D.C. that can further expand on the state of the federal infrastructure programs at the moment. So with that, I will turn it over to Quinn.
Thank you very much, Joel. And thank you, Chairwoman Carlson. So I had the opportunity to meet many of you about a year ago And I'm here today, as Joel said, to provide an update on the resilience program because we've been able to finish up quite a bit of the first phase of our work. And so I'm really happy to share an update with you today on that. So I've divided up what we've done into two pieces because they are a little bit different. So the first piece has been supporting the P3 RFP process through providing some light touch language to support ongoing tracking and reporting of project resilience elements. And so what we've done is we've worked very closely with members of the P3 RFP team and the PMC to add some small language into the RFP to align with getting ongoing information on resilience, including risk management, community engagement, and local workforce development. And so when we say resilience here, I just wanted to point out that we are placing a big focus on economic and social resilience. And so when we say resilience, those are some key things we want to keep in mind here as well. We've also set up the resilience program as a framework, and we've done this in alignment with industry best practices. One of them is the Envision framework. And so in doing that, we've been able to create a baseline for this program, and we've reviewed a lot of different project documentation across many disciplines in order to do that. And we've taken the lens of resilience and been able to build this to monitor ongoing performance for the project. So one of the big pieces here is aligning the resilience program with quality management. So because we're a part of the PMC, we like to see this as one of the quality management exercises. And so the information that we get through any formal submittals from the P3 will feed into the quality management program throughout design, construction, and potentially O&M as well. And so you can see here there are a couple of different pieces that we're talking about when we say resilience. So the P3 team is now required to submit reports demonstrating resilience performance, including information on reduction of design conflicts for the project. So that aligns with value engineering, community and stakeholder engagement, construction safety and impact. So this is pretty important because of the duration of this project. Construction is going to have a really big impact on the community. So ensuring that we're getting the right information and that there's compliance is going to be critical for construction. Water, energy, waste, and materials management. So we're hoping to find efficiencies and optimize those processes as well. Noise and lighting, and then local workforce development. And so local workforce development, a big piece of that is how can we most effectively take advantage of the big economic stimulus that's going to happen with construction starting on the project and make that so it can be sustained into the future and leverage that as much as possible to support local economy growth beyond the construction phase. And so all of this information is going to be tracked and monitored as part of the resilience program in one place. One of the reasons why this is so important is that it does align very, very closely with federal funding opportunities. And so now that the resilience program is in place and we can continue to build on it and build on the baseline, it allows us to create a really great narrative and support for any federal funding opportunities. So the new administration is focusing on resilience and social equity, and we know that. And so we can pull out pieces. There are areas in the resilience program that rely on information related to social equity and rely on information related to resilience. And so because of that alignment, we are now able to pull out pieces on an ongoing basis that align with federal funding. Any type of discretionary grant or funding for infrastructure will require projects to demonstrate what they're doing for resilience, sustainability, and/or climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. So because of that, it's going to be really important that we have this information tracked and we are able to demonstrate the great work that this project is doing. So this aligns with the resilience program and the best practices that we've referenced in building it, which include Envision. Envision is a framework that is used across North America. I spoke to it a little bit last year, but it is essentially the de facto framework for sustainable and resilient infrastructure in the United States. And so what we would like to do is work closely with Matt Schiller to support funding applications. Joel mentioned some of these briefly at the beginning, but they include the FEMA BRIC program, potential future infrastructure bills, and the opportunity for earmarks if we can, and then the federal president's budget as well. And so in order to do that, these are some next steps that we would address in upcoming phases of our work. To continue with ongoing tracking and reporting as part of the quality management process, so through the P3. So essentially that involves reviewing submittals and P3 compliance. Support federal funding opportunities, so working with Matt Schiller. Providing the documentation required to support any applications and ensure that we're showing the great work this project is doing for resilience and touching on those new administration priorities. Continue to support and track local workforce development strategies and provide any information necessary to share with the public, and then have ongoing coordination and meetings as required with the P3 team. So, Joel, that's what I had for my slides. Was there anything that you wanted to add to that?
Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate that. Great information. I just want the board to know that we did move forward with a phased approach with the work that Luceo is doing. If the board feels it appropriate, I would like to bring the next phase forward with Luceo and have that for the board's review at the next meeting. But I would like to just note we have a lot of opportunity here to bring potentially additional federal funding to the program. There's a lot of components of our program that fit very, very well into the discussions that are happening in Washington right now related to infrastructure. Like I mentioned, Matt Schiller is attending the meeting today, and if any of the board members have any additional questions or want to dig into that, Matt is available to provide any information to that extent. But I think we have some great opportunities in 2021 to move some of the local non-federal work and have that supported by federal funding, which obviously reduces the burden on the local taxpayers and the state of North Dakota. And I believe we should be looking at any and all opportunities to bring additional federal funding into the program. And the work that Luceo is doing and that the PMC and Jacobs, as well as Matt Schiller, really supports that effort. So with that, Madam Chair, I think we'll open it up for any discussion and questions. So.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for presenting, and thank you for those comments, Mr. Paulson. Mayor Mahoney.
Great presentation, Quinn. I'm a little curious. Chad Peterson did the impacts in the communities of workforce and people coming into our community. And I think it'd be good for the board members if you'd share what you're putting out there. I've heard comments that could bring 1,500 workers into the community or 7,000, or I'm not sure what it is. So whatever data you have on that to help us in local market, to help us out with Jennifer to get the message out would be very helpful. The second thing is it appears that Matt Schiller says that your way you might package things would help us a bit. And it's kind of a question for Jennifer. It appears to be part of what Quinn will do is do some press packages or press things that will go to the senators and such. So is that something basically that Quinn would be able to do versus the differentiation is our public relations team do it, or would Quinn be doing some of the materials that would be taken out to Washington, D.C.? And then finally, Joe, I'm assuming that we will see a final compliance of cost management on this. I think we started at 45,000 with this group. I think you put in another 135,000, and I think you're tracking on eventually with Quinn's team, we're going to be spending $400,000. And I just think Joel, you're probably going to verify that as we go further.
So Mayor Mahoney, I can address your first question, and then I'll hand it over to Jennifer and Joel to answer your second and third ones. But we have done quite a bit of compiling of the economic information related to this project, and we have that available, and can definitely share that with you and whoever else is interested, because that was a significant part of our findings. So Joel, I'm not sure if you want to speak to that, but we're happy to do that either through you or through somebody else, because we do have a really nice summary of the key economic pieces related to this and how that ties into local workforce development.
Yeah, absolutely, Quinn. I did have a chance to review that, Mayor Mahoney, and there's a lot of great information contained within what Luceo has pulled together. So I will email that out to the board members, so you guys all have that information. You're right. The impacts to our local job market are going to be significant through the duration of the construction on this project, as well as the potential for the escalation of material prices and the local bidding environment for baseline work for our member entities as well. And so it's very important that we are planning for that, and that each member entity is incorporating those findings within their strategic plans for the next years moving forward. And some of the work that we've been doing has been coordinating with entities such as NDSCS to ensure that they are ready and able to support specialized apprenticeship programs and skill development programs related to the work necessary for the FM diversion project. And they are looking forward to coordinating with the P3 team that does get selected to ensure that they are providing the proper resources here locally to develop those skills and have those available. Our hope is that we leverage this project to the greatest extent practical in addressing the workforce development issues that our region has struggled with for many decades. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we hope that this project will provide additional workforce for the Fargo-Moorhead community, ongoing even after the project has been constructed. So a lot of great findings, and we'll get that out to the board. I'll take the second question. I think that was a great question, Mayor. Yes, we're going to be working with Jacobs and Luceo, as well as our communications team, to compile this information for our federal legislative delegations as we continue to work with them to support our federal strategy. We have a lot of different opportunities, a lot of irons in the fire at the federal level. And so certainly, we will utilize, the full support of our teams to provide that information as we continue to move through and get some additional clarity on what this infrastructure package might look like, and maybe where the earmarks are going with Congress and how that's all going to work. And then the last question that you had related to Luceo's task order and phased implementation. Yes, that is something that I would like to provide that overview to the board at the next meeting. If the board feels that this is a valuable component to the diversion project, we will bring that forward at the next meeting and make sure the board is comfortable with moving into the next phase for the work that Luceo can do to support our resiliency plan.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor Mahoney, did that answer all of your questions?
Yeah, that answered my question. It's just with Bernie Dardis and myself, we're going to have to struggle or kind of get in this race to add more apartments as quick as we can so we don't have man camps. So I don't know, Mayor Carlson, if you want to get in that race as well. But if there's 5,000 to 7,000 people coming our way, I think we're going to have to get busy.
I agree. Thank you. Commissioner Sherling.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to hear Mr. Chiller's input regarding the potential for additional federal funding and how, Matt, how would you integrate this with your current efforts? Thanks.
Hi, thank you. Mary, I appreciate the question. Madam Chair, thanks for having me. Joel, thank you for the invite. It's a great question. I think what Quinn and her team bring to this is a number of hard facts and statistics that we're going to be able to use. I think will help to set us apart. As she mentioned, and as Joel also alluded to, the new administration is really baking a number of goals, including the things that were discussed in the slide presentation, as being an integral part of what gets into the president's budget, as well as what will be considered competitive for every federal grant going forward for the next several years. So I think our messaging of this project is going to change a little bit. I think it'll certainly depend to a certain extent as to who our audience is, but for folks in the administration and, for the Minnesota senators, I think it's going to be important to talk about and make sure that they understand with as much data as is possible that this has a strong resilience component, to talk about the resilience, the social equity that it brings, and to really put it in the best possible light to get inclusion into the president's budget, which of course we have not yet accomplished, and then be competitive for the new programs that come apart in the president's Build Back Better plan, which we're hoping to see a little bit of detail on next week, and with earmarks and other things rolling forward. So we've got about 4 or 5 different opportunities that we're tracking and trying to pump money into on the federal side. So we're working really hard to maximize the number of opportunities, the things that we can apply for. So I think Lucio brings a lot to the table for our ability to be as competitive as is humanly possible.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That is all I had. Thank you.
Chairwoman, I think you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. I thought I had taken it off. Thank you, Commissioner Sherling. Mayor Mahoney, your hand is still up. Did you have any further questions or just?
Sorry, took it down.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Quinn or Joel or Matt Chiller? Okay, I think Joel, if you would like to bring something back to us next month for us to look over, that would be great. So thank you for the presentation today, Ms. McKenzie, and Mr. Chiller for being on the call.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you again.
We do not have anything left on our agenda. Our next meeting will be held on April 22nd, 2021. Oh, Mr. Strand, your hand is up. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question to ask the group and something to consider going forward. Being as we're in such an accelerated pace of activity right now, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon, and into the construction season, I'd just like to have us think about whether we should be stepping up our meeting schedule and maybe for a moment meeting every other week instead of once a month.
Thank you, Commissioner Strand. Mayor Mahoney.
John, actually, our work is done on contracting in this, and that's the beauty of having Joel as our executive director. The board really doesn't have to do any action items every other week. It basically comes to once a month. So, I mean, it's exciting that we're getting construction, but this is what's going to happen. And when P3 comes in there, it's really going to go. I don't remember, Joel, you one time said we'd be spending millions every day. So it's just us to approve contracting action, and we've already got our budget and such. So there's not a lot of action items we do. So that's why we wouldn't need to meet every 2 weeks.
Madam Chair, I'll just conclude. It's simply food for thought.
Thank you, Commissioner Strand and Mayor Mahoney. I can
Madam
visit.
Chair, I think that's the board really wants to be engaged. We have had more engagement at this board than we've had for a long time. So I think you're finding more and more of us want to get engaged. And the problem you're having is you're having too many things happen every week. So slow down. Quit getting all these things happen every week. But what's happening is exactly what John says. There's so much stuff going on that's positive for the program that it's hard to keep up.
I would concur with that assessment. There are constantly things occurring and constant successes coming our way, and I think it is just going to continue to accelerate. I will visit with Executive Director Paulson, and perhaps if that's something we could do a poll. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if there. I would concur with Mayor Mahoney. I don't know if there would be a lot of actual action items on the agenda. Commissioner Sherling.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One suggestion I would offer is we've had talking points, I guess we've called them in the past, and it's different terms, but you could just send out an update halfway through the month to the board to let them know where we're at on any number of items. I think that's helpful just when we're talking to the public in general. People want to know, hey, I saw this thing going up, whatever it might be. And I know I always like to know what they're talking about. So if you've got something that you can just shoot out to the board members, every once in a while, I think on a regular basis, it would be helpful. That perhaps that would be adequate.
Commissioner Sherling, I really think that's actually an excellent idea, because even just this last month, there have been so many really amazing things that have happened. If we just had bullet points, even to give us a few sentences about each of the things that are occurring, that might help. Mayor Mahoney, your hand is up.
I got to learn to take that thing down. I'm sorry. I agree with Mary. I think just Jennifer can work on this, is that perhaps bullets out of her office just to tell us what's happening. And that elevator speech, Mary, is exactly what we need sometimes, because the legal stuff we've been embroiled with for so long, nobody knows what the newest thing means. That John Tuheim drops this thing finally, what does that mean to the program? And to Joel's point, when suddenly the legislative body is going to fund us at 100%, there's just so many things that are happening. It's good board members would know.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Roger.
Yes. Go ahead, Roger.
Yes. Well, this is exactly what Jennifer and I talked about, and she offered up that communication with the board is going to be very important going forward. And she wants to make that communication easy and informational. So that's definitely on the radar for her, and just to keep us abreast of what's going on. And yeah, we're aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad it's already on your radar, Jennifer.
If I could make a comment, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner Sherling, Mayor Mahoney, Commissioner Olson, great comments, and I think we're all on the same page, and there is so many things going on. We are doing kind of a bi-weekly update for the co-executive directors. That's been received very well, to keep them up to date on all of the different activities that are going on. And I certainly think we should tailor something to the board that we can send out on a bi-weekly basis that has the talking points about what's been occurring in the last 2 weeks. You're absolutely right, Mayor Carlson. It's been a very fast roller coaster for us, and we're going downhill, extremely fast, and there's a lot of things happening, and it's extremely exciting. And sometimes sometimes we just need to stop and make sure that everyone is being provided with all that information about all the great things that are occurring with the program. And so we will work on that this next, maybe over the course of the next few weeks, and maybe shoot out a general format to the board. And certainly feel free to provide comments, whether you like it, it's too much information, too little information, those sorts of things. And maybe work on kind of a standard format of keeping the board informed of all the activities, because over the next month it is going to be extremely hectic with everything that we have planned. And I would anticipate that we will continue to see a lot of these great successes as we move into construction on the diversion channel.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. And thank you, Commissioner Strand, for bringing that up. I think the more information that each of us have as board members that we are able to articulate and have conversations with the general public when we get posed with questions is going to be really helpful. And as Mr. Paulson said, there's just going to continue to be so many more things happening, and this will help to keep us abreast of everything. So,
and Madam Chair, I'll promise this is my last comment. This has been a real valuable discussion. I think all of us are really feeling a need to do our best at our information levels. But I'll leave it at this. It's also about boardsmanship and being able to be on top of information adequately. So just keep it in the back of our minds as our responsibilities and expectations grow. Maybe considering a different meeting schedule to have more time to go at the topics, to drill deeper, to really get our arms around it as board members. So it's all of the above, but thanks everybody for this conversation. It's out of the blue, and I'm just simply planting a seed is all.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner Strand. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. So next meeting again, and we will visit with the City of Fargo to see if we might be able to get into the meeting room there, possibly. If so, we will let everyone know. I would imagine that there would still be a possibility to attend virtually if people still are not comfortable or not able to, but if perhaps we are able to start offering the possibility to meet in person, that would be helpful also. So again, next meeting, April 22nd, 2021. Do I have, now I'm not remembering, do I get a motion to adjourn or do I just adjourn? Mr. Shockley? Motion. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Shirley.
Second, Habinger.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great next few weeks.